Hello everyone. In a previous video I discussed some of the interesting anatomical features of a variety of different bird species found across the world. Specifically those features used by birds for hunting, foraging, combat and self-defense. These included the razor-sharp talons and bone-crushing grip of raptors, including birds of prey, to birds with razor-sharp spikes or spurs on their wing butts, spurred legs and even serrated beaks. But with over 10,000 species of birds found across the world, the list of impressive anatomical features just goes on and on. So in this video we will be doing a continuation of looking into these impressive features with a range of different adaptations from the ones we've seen before. Before we dive into this video however, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. Ratites are a flightless family of birds found across the world and include a range of familiar species including the rhea, emu, cassowary and of course the ostrich. The largest of these birds, the ostrich, can weigh up to 155 kilos and stand well over 6 foot tall in most cases. Despite being large and flightless, ratites are well known for being very fast runners and very competent on the ground, and the ostrich is certainly no exception. In fact, the ostrich is the fastest bipedal animal on Earth and can sprint at over 45 miles per hour. With exceptionally long and powerful legs, the ostrich can run at great speeds and travel over vast distances in search of food and water, and also outrun potential threats. Interestingly, the ostrich has only 2 toes on each of its feet, with one larger toe with a claw on the end, and a shorter toe which often lacks a claw. This adaptation is believed to help ostriches in their running, and is quite unlike other ratites which usually have 3 toes. As well as providing them with excellent traction while running at high speeds, these exceptionally powerful legs and claws also give ostriches a very powerful kick. With a kick capable of opening a man's stomach, it's little surprise that the ostrich, combined with its large size, is well able to fend off potential attackers as well as outrun them. However, another species of ratite from Australia, the cassowary, has perhaps an even more fearsome reputation when it comes to self-defense and combat. With 3 toes on each foot, the cassowary is armed with razor-sharp claws on its feet, with one of these claws on the inner toe, capable of getting over 12 centimeters or more in length. These razor-sharp weapons, combined with the cassowary's incredible agility on its feet and its tremendous kicking power, are its primary means of offense or defense depending on the situation. The main attack strategy of this bird is to lunge or jump in the air at an attacker and kick out at full power with its claws extended. The birds will sometimes aim for a vulnerable area including the abdomen or even the neck if possible, where a well-placed strike can inflict some serious damage. As seen by this image, cassowaries will frequently fight each other for mating rights or territory, but they will also sometimes become aggressive towards other animals if they feel their territory or their young are threatened. Cassowaries have broken human legs and eviscerated abdomens with the power of their kick, and in extreme cases they have even killed humans. However, despite their reputation as the world's most dangerous bird to humans, cassowaries usually only attack humans if they are provoked. As with virtually any large wild animal, it is advised to keep a healthy distance from cassowaries in the wild, and if you are confronted, use a large object such as a tree to act as a barrier between yourself and the cassowary's flying kicks. In the previous video on this subject, we briefly touched upon a few species of birds with serrated or notched beaks, including toucans and mergansers for example, that use these serrations for foraging, hunting as well as defense. However, the family of birds that we're going to discuss in this category today is not the species people typically think of as possessing such weaponry. With their beautiful iridescent patterns and highly acrobatic flight, hummingbirds are among the most enchanting of all small bird species to watch. Some species belonging to this family are some of the smallest vertebrates alive today and the smallest birds in the world, barely being larger than some insects. Much like their flying insect counterparts, hummingbirds rely on flowers and their nectar to sustain themselves in their acrobatic flight, and being so small means they have an incredibly fast metabolism. This, combined with having such an acrobatic yet energy-consuming flight style, including hovering and foraging for flowers, means that they must feed constantly during daylight hours. Largely as a result of these factors, hummingbirds therefore can become surprisingly aggressive and possessive over areas where resources such as flowers are abundant, and will fiercely guard it even against other hummingbirds. This can lead to some acrobatic and fierce aerial battles between two or more hummingbirds, where they will use their beaks almost like swords to jab and bite at each other in mid-flight. A selection of hummingbird species, however, have taken this conflict a step further, and the males of these species have developed full-on weaponized beaks as a result. Serrated teeth-like projections on the sides of the upper and lower mandible are present on these beaks, and the ends of the beaks also have some sharp hook-like tips. A formidable set of weapons for a seemingly innocent-looking little bird. These somewhat shorter weaponized beaks are not as efficient for feeding from flowers as other hummingbird beaks, but the trade-off enables these birds to better fend off and grapple with potential opponents and thus defend the flowers they like the most, enabling them to maintain a healthy possession of them to feed from in the future. In this video so far, and in the previous video, we've discussed birds that have hooked beaks, toothed beaks and serrated beaks, but what about those that have beaks that act more like a spear or javelin? Well, there are a number of bird species in the world that have beaks shaped and adapted for piercing prey like a spear, and among them are the heron family. As mostly predators of small animals in wetland areas, the heron's beak is its primary means of hunting and catching prey. A heron's neck, which is also very long and flexible, is also a formidable asset when it comes to the hunt. Made up of more than 19 or 20 cervical vertebrae, a heron often has its neck fully extended when scanning for prey near a water's edge, for example, as seen here. However, when approaching prey very closely and preparing to strike, the heron will rear its neck backwards in an S shape like this, prepared to lash out at full force using its neck to fire its beak outwards like a piston. The incredible flexibility of the heron's neck, combined with its muscular propulsion, enables the bird to fire its beak outwards with tremendous speed, enabling it to snatch even the swiftest of prey items. The precision of this high-speed strike enables a heron to either grasp prey in a snatching motion between its upper and lower mandible, or even spear through its body as seen here, using its beak almost like a javelin. Contrary to popular belief, herons are not content just eating fish, and while they are predators of a wide range of fish species, they are equally happy to feed on a range of amphibians such as frogs, as well as small mammals and birds given the chance. The Eurasian grey heron and the great blue heron of North America seem to be particularly predatory in this regard. Another family of birds that use a long spear-like beak for foraging and hunting are birds referred to as anhingas or darters. These birds live largely an aquatic lifestyle, and will actually dive underwater and approach fish before spearing them with the ends of their beaks. Resurfacing with their newly caught prize, these birds are famous for their juggling ability, where they will actually throw the fish into the air to dislodge it from the ends of their beaks before swallowing it whole, almost like getting the prey off the end of their harpoon, if you will. In the previous video of this subject, we briefly touched upon a species of bird known as the spur-winged goose. As the name implies, these birds have some razor-sharp spurs or spikes on the wings, which they will often use in self-defense or intra-species combat. They are also the world's largest species of goose, with the largest individuals capable of reaching up to 10 kilos in weight, with all the aggression that geese are well known for. So with all these features in mind, how could these African birds get any more formidable? Well, did I mention the fact that they're poisonous? Yes, spur-winged goose are one of the few species of birds in the world that are actually toxic. Like other goose species, spur-winged geese are mostly vegetarian in nature, but they will also occasionally eat insects, including a particular family of beetles known as a blister beetle. These beetles carry a powerful poison in their bodies which can be dangerous to other predators if consumed in high doses, but the geese are somehow able to consume them without any real ill effects. This toxin, known as cantharidin, is retained in the goose's tissues, but doesn't affect the geese directly. However, if a spur-winged goose is somehow killed and then eaten, for example, by a human, even if it's cooked, there's a likelihood that they could still be poisoned. In fact, only 10 milligrams of this toxin is enough to kill a human. Another species of bird well known for its toxic nature is the hooded pitahui, with its distinctive fiery red and black coloration. Once again, this species gains its toxicity from feeding on large amounts of beetles in the Coracine genus, which themselves contain poisons that make them unpalatable to most predators. Once again, however, the birds are able to ingest large amounts of these beetles and thus remain insensitive to the toxins. These poisons, known as batrachotoxins, are retained in the bird's skin, flesh and feathers, and make these birds especially dangerous to handle or ingest to predators. Just touching a hooded pitahui's skin and feathers can lead to a burning sensation in the human hand, but if any of these toxins are ingested or inhaled by accident, they can cause paralysis or even death. Just looking at these images of people holding these hooded pitahui certainly makes me question the safety of the handlers. Another species of small bird, the little shrike thrush, shares the hooded pitahui's toxic nature. This comparatively dull-looking and even innocent-looking bird also carries a hefty dose of toxins in its flesh and feathers. Even bird species that have recently died out in recent history are known to have been potentially or even certainly poisonous. The Carolina parakeet was a relative of modern-day conures and was found right across North America before being declared extinct in 1939. Mostly herbivorous in nature, this species fed on various types of plants, including the cocklebur, a plant notorious for containing xanthium, a powerful toxin. Once again, these birds would feed on large amounts of this plant while not being affected directly by the toxins themselves, but having disastrous consequences for any animals that try to eat them. It has been stated that domestic and feral cats would sometimes catch, kill and eat Carolina parakeets and die shortly afterwards as a result of this toxin. While we are on the subject of toxins and toxicity, it should be mentioned that there's a distinct difference between venom and poison. Venom has to be injected, usually via a bite such as fangs or stingers, while poison usually has to be ingested or inhaled to be dangerous. All of these birds, therefore, are poisonous, as the toxins in their body have to be consumed by another animal for them to be dangerous. If the birds were to inflict a bite or sting somehow and cause effects afterwards, that would be classed as venomous. The latter three birds in this list may seem somewhat innocent and harmless, with no obvious physical weaponry to speak of, but these toxins certainly pack a serious punch. Yet another topic we briefly touched on in the previous video was the subject of geese having particularly freakish looking mouths and tongues. The gnarly tooth-like structures on the sides of their beaks, along with the spined papillae on their tongues, give geese an unusual looking mouth, which is well suited for cutting up vegetation, but it could also give a pretty nasty bite. It turns out, however, that geese are far from the only birds with some rather disturbing looking mouth parts. In fact, a variety of different bird species ranging from birds of prey including hawks, eagles and falcons, and even penguins as seen here, have some pretty freakish looking maws. The grooves of papillae, or the projections seen on the underside of this penguin's upper jaw and on the tongue, enable the bird to grab hold of its food, in this case mostly fish, and give it a superb grip on its prey, and also enable it to swallow its prey more effectively. This is largely true for many other bird species as well, including birds of prey and owls, who also have specialised grooves and papillae on their tongues and the inside of their mouths to give them a better grip when swallowing large chunks of food. The edges of the beak also work in a scissor-like action combined with this, enabling these birds to swallow large pieces of food effectively in place of no teeth. Vultures such as this one, however, feed in a slightly different manner, seeming to feed on larger carcasses using a fast nibbly action as opposed to the tug and pull method of other species such as eagles and falcons, for example. The hooked beak, combined with the grooved and serrated tongue seen here, enables the vulture to grasp and pull off large chunks of flesh into their mouths, and the granial papillae on the upper and lower jaw also help grind up flesh more efficiently before swallowing. And this concludes my second entry into this series investigating various bird anatomy. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this informative video discussing these various impressive features. There are more anatomy videos like this hopefully on the way in this channel, as well as hopefully more videos involving falconry and birds of prey, which is the mainstay of this channel. Until next time, I'll see you in the next one.